Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're standing under a strand of twinkling lights that pretend to be stars, while paper crowns tilt on tired heads and the smell of cinnamon keeps trying to forgive the day. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here, and in the comments. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I like seeing our little constellation of night owls. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background. And let's begin tonight's journey together. The living room is dressed in red and restraint. Tinsel clings to the mantle like it got the invitation late. I'm on the armchair with the good throw, wrapping up the last of the dishes in my head. Who gets the gravy boat tomorrow? What to do with the ham bone? Whether the poinsettia will keep its temper until New Year's. Cara, my daughter, stands near the tree, phone in her hand like a microphone that intends to have opinions. She taps the screen, clears her throat, and grins with the careful brightness of someone who doesn't trust dimmers. Okay, she says, raising her glass. One more gift. She turns to me. Mom, the greatest gift you can give us this Christmas is to stop being a freeloader. The room goes all porcelain. You can hear the clock forget what second it was on. Lucas's game controller coughs once, then pretends it's a coaster. Mia's paper crown slides down to her eyebrow like it doesn't want to witness. I look at the tree angel and briefly consider asking her for legal advice. Freeloader, I repeat softly, as if it's a new spice I'm auditioning. I see. Cara shrugs. Casual as a billboard. You live here rent-free. You eat with us. You borrow my car whenever. She glances at her husband. Dean, who offers the kind of supportive nod that belongs on an instruction manual. It's time to, step up. Light joke number 1. I almost say. Honey, I'm 58. Stepping up is now a 2-rail sport, but I swallow it like a vitamin I don't believe in. I fold the throw, place it on the arm of the chair, and stand. My bones. Traitors that they are. Choose dignity over commentary. Thank you for the hospitality, I say to the room, to the tree, to anyone who's listening, and also to myself. I'll be out of your way in 15 minutes. Mia blinks hard. Lucas's mouth becomes a question mark he can't punctuate. Cara opens her palms, surprised that the magic words turned into a door. Mom. Don't be dramatic, she says, a sentence always said by the most dramatic person present. I nod, glide past the tree, and head down the hall. My room smells like lavender that tried. The suitcase in the closet still has the airport tags from a trip I canceled when Cara said she needed me for after-school pickups just for a season. Seasons have a way of making careers out of themselves. I take the suitcase down, lay it open on the bed, and begin the gentle theft of my own life. 2 sweaters. The good jeans, the shoes that know how to be quiet on tile, a toothbrush, the envelope I keep inside the blue cardigan documents that remind paper to behave. Elder wisdom, you don't have to win every room you exit. Sometimes the kindest line you'll draw is the one you walk. I move like someone packing for an overnight that intends to be longer. There's a small snow globe on the dresser, a little house in a little storm. I shake it once for superstition, watch the flakes calm, then tuck it in the side pocket. Snow knows when to settle. I am learning. At the door, Mia appears, cheeks red from swallowing protests. Grandma, she whispers, are you in trouble? I'm in motion, I say. That's different. She nods like a person signing for a package too heavy to carry. Lucas leans sideways in the hall, pretending to study a baseboard. Can I text you memes, he asks. Which is teenage for I love you. Please don't become a ghost. Only the good ones, I say. Nothing with raccoons or accounting humor. He grins despite the room and steps back so I can pass. In the kitchen, Cara waits with her hands in her back pockets like the truth might be there if she digs. You can't just leave, she says. Watch me, I say, but kindly like a museum guard explaining a rope. I set my key on the counter with the grace of a last note. I'll text you where I land. The ham bone is yours. Treat it gently. Light joke number 2. I snag the last peppermint from the bowl. Payment, I say. Union rules. Outside. The cold has better manners than my family. It says what it means, and then leaves your cheeks alone. I put the suitcase in the trunk of the sedan that still smells like dealership ambition and drive toward the nearest vacancy sign. The motel is the sort of place that names its rooms after trees that don't grow here. I get maple. The bedspread is a geometry lesson. The heater speaks fluent airplane. I put the suitcase on the luggage rack and sit. The quiet is too loud, so I give it a task. Bank app, balance, breath. I blink at the number like it has a typo, $73.19. There should be 14,000. Give or take the holidays. I drill down into transactions. The way you follow wet footprints down a hall. An ATM withdrawal. 2, actually. Same machine. 2 dates. Both around midnight. The location pings my memory like a fork against glass. The strip mall near Kara's subdivision. The one with the frozen yogurt place Lucas swears is elite. Okay, I say to the air. We are not panicking. I scroll further. A mobile transfer to a new device last week the day I was at Mia's choir concert. My phone in a basket at the auditorium door because the school likes to pretend we still live in 1998. The transfer authenticated via trusted contact. I never set a trusted contact. Academic phrase of the day. Unauthorized access with apparent consent. The public argument that sometimes fraud looks like permission. Because the thief used a device or code the system believes belongs to you. The law learns the difference. It just needs proof and patience. I open the envelope from the blue cardigan. Passports, social security card. 2 credit cards I babysit like toddlers. A plastic sleeve with a photocopy of a quitclaim deed, the one Kara begged me to sign 2 summers ago so the refinance can include your name. Mom. It's just a formality. I didn't sign. I asked for time. The copy in my hand shows ink I do not recognize. My name. In a version of my handwriting that learned its manners in a mirror. Witness lines filled by strangers. Notarized in a county where I have never had the pleasure. Light joke number 3, I say to the ceiling. If this is Santa's way of telling me I've been naughty, he needs a better feedback form. I take photos of everything the ATM screen grabs. The suspicious deed, the transfer. I email them to an account Kara doesn't know exists my name. A period. My maiden name. Then I call the bank and place a hold that makes the representative hum with phrases like escalation and provisional credit. We practice the choreography of defense, new passwords. 2-factor on a device that sleeps in my shoe. A fraud affidavit that will eventually wear a stamp. Sidebar odd fact, notary seals in many states use crimpers that leave a raised impression you can feel with your fingertip under angled light. Counterfeit flat stamps will shine wrong. Paper, like people, gives itself away if you tilt the lamp. By 2 a.m., the room has accepted me as furniture. I place the snow globe on the nightstand and let the heater complain. My phone vibrates once a text from an unknown number that is not unknown at all. Please don't be like this. Come back in the morning and we'll talk like adults. I stare at the sentence until the subtext turns into fog. Adults don't begin negotiations by stealing from savings. I type one reply to Kara. I will contact you via an attorney. Please do not use my accounts or mail. I'll arrange a time to collect the rest of my things. I delete Merry Christmas because it is, in fact, not. Sleep arrives with paperwork in its pockets. Morning will smell like motel coffee and photocopies. I will find an attorney with a reception area that believes in carpets and posture. I will bring my envelope, my patience. and the small courage of people who finally leave rooms that stopped being rooms. For now, I set the snow globe on its side and watch the flakes settle. The house inside gets to keep its roof, so will I. The heater sighs as if it has been waiting all its life to agree with a sentence. I woke to motel coffee doing its best impression of optimism and a carpet that had decided to forgive everything except luggage wheels. The snow globe on my nightstand had settled. The little house inside remembered its roof. I made a list on the complimentary pad, thin paper, thick intentions bank, credit freeze, police report number, replacement SIM, and somewhere to sit that isn't a bed. Elder wisdom. On disaster mornings, do the smallest necessary next thing. Panic wants a parade. Survival wants a checklist. Choose the list. March quietly. First call the bank's fraud line on speaker, because watching the snow globe breathe takes the sting out of hold music. A woman named Edith answered with a voice like good knitwear. We went step by step. Nouns first, the 2 ATM withdrawals, the Midnight Times, the strip mall location near Kara's subdivision. We'll open an error resolution case under Regulation E, she said, already typing. Provisional credit usually within 10 business days while we investigate. You'll get an affidavit to sign. 10 business days. Courage inhaled, groceries exhaled. Academic phrase of the day, Regulation E. The public rulebook for electronic fund transfers. It says, banks must investigate unauthorized withdrawals and, while they're checking, put the money back temporarily so you don't starve for someone else's audacity. It's not mercy, it's math with manners. Edith put a hard hold on my debit card, locked the online banking, and confirmed my mailing address hadn't been changed. Do you know anyone who might have had access to your device? She asked. Neutral as a judge who eats oatmeal. I pictured the auditorium phone basket, a dozen black rectangles napping together like obedient puppies. I pictured Kara's kitchen island, where my unlocked phone spent afternoons learning other people's notifications. Possibly, I said. We'll let the logs talk. I called the 3 credit bureaus next. My voice finding the rhythm name. Date of birth, last 4, yes. Freeze everything. A fraud alert went up like a little picket fence around my life. The clerk at Equifax asked if I wanted to add a passphrase. Parsley, I said, because it is the herb that means. I tried, and I intend to keep trying. Light joke number 1, I considered casserole as a passphrase, but decided I didn't want to be emotionally blackmailed by a tuna bake. At the precinct, the desk sergeant slid a clipboard toward me and a pen that had been on more first dates than I have. Pick identity theft and write plain, he said. I kept to nouns ATM dates, device transfer, unfamiliar notary seal on a quitclaim deed copy, daughter's address proximity. A young officer with a haircut that hadn't learned to misbehave took my statement with a patience that made up for fluorescent lights. We'll give you an incident number, he said. You'll need that for the bank and the credit bureaus. I ate a bad muffin with good manners and drove to the strip mall. The ATM stood under a security camera like an understudy craving stage time. I took photos of the dome, the posted 1-800 number, and the precise angle of the machine. A laundromat next door hummed like a city that knows secrets. A frozen yogurt shop pretended winter wasn't an argument worth having. I didn't go in. I wasn't hungry for sugar. I was hungry for paper. Back at the motel, I opened my laptop and began collecting copies as if the printer gods were watching. I downloaded bank statements, texted myself screenshots, and uploaded everything to the email Kara doesn't know, my name, maiden name, and a password built from the year I learned to leave. Then I pulled my credit report. There it was, 3 inquiries this quarter I didn't make, and 1 approved store card with a limit big enough to be rude. The mailing address, Kara Street, wrong house number by 1 digit. a shy fraudster's trick, hoping delivery drifts the way mail does when it's wearing a winter coat. Sidebar odd fact. The faint gray lines on most copy paper aren't design. They're chain lines. Subtle marks from the wire screen used in papermaking in old documents. Those lines can help date the stock. Paper carries its own fingerprints if you tilt the lamp and ask nicely. I called the store card's fraud department. A man named Tim answered like he was trying to be friends with my panic. "We'll close the card, remove the inquiry, and flag the address," he said. "If packages arrive anywhere near that number, they'll boomerang back to us." He coughed. "Paper moving. Also, and I'm sorry for this part, but do you recognize the authorized user request?" "No," I said. "It wasn't authorized, and I am not a user." By noon, I needed a real chair. The public library was open, bless the secular saints of circulation. I claimed a table near the tall windows and spread my life like a picnic snow globe for courage, envelope for spine, a legal pad for verbs. I emailed legal aid to ask for a referral, then left a message for a small firm with 5-star reviews that complimented the receptionist's laugh. A laugh like that answers the phone even when trouble tries to steal the line. Light joke number 2. I wrote by pens that don't betray me on the legal pad because the motel ballpoint was auditioning for saboteur. My phone buzzed an unknown number that knew me too well. "Mom, this is ridiculous. Kara." Bright and brittle. "We were upset. You escalated it. Come back and we'll work it out as a family." Family is the word some people use when they mean silent partner. I looked out at the parking lot where a man in a Santa hat was arguing kindly with a shopping cart. "I'll work it out with documents," I said. "You'll hear from an attorney." Silence. Then Dean says, "You're overreacting. Those withdrawals were for house expenses." At midnight, I asked, "From an ATM 20 feet from frozen yogurt." She inhaled like she found the wrong script. "Do not accuse me of crimes." "I'm not," I said. "I'm accusing the facts of being inconvenient." When the call ended, I didn't cry. I Googled notary seals. The photocopy of the deed showed a round stamp that looked like it wanted to be taken seriously and a notary name I didn't recognize. I checked the state notary database on my phone. Active commission, different county, business address near, of course, a mailbox rental place. The database showed sample seal numbers. Mine had an extra 0 that didn't belong. Sloppy. Sloppy is a rope. I scanned the copy, highlighted the notary number, circled the date, and drafted a short email to the Secretary of State's Notary Division. Suspected fraudulent acknowledgement attached. Please advise on verification process. I added my incident number. Paper likes numbers that behave. By late afternoon, legal aid called back with 2 names. I dialed the first and got a voicemail that tried too hard. The second, Naomi Park, picked up on the 3rd ring and said, "Tell me the nouns." I did, quietly. "The way you describe a neighbor's dog to animal control friendly most days. Bit me on Tuesday." She asked for scans, the incident number, and my timeline written on 1 page. "If we meet tomorrow, will you be ready to tell the story without adjectives?" "Adjectives retired," I said. "Nouns on chairs." "Good," she said. "We'll start with a cease and desist to your daughter and her husband regarding your accounts and mail, a demand for return of funds, and a litigation hold notice to preserve devices and documents. We'll also ping the bank's fraud unit directly and the notary board." Her voice had the elasticity of someone who stretches before lifting weights. "Tonight, try to sleep. Print what you can." Light joke number 3. "I'm staying at the Maple," I confessed. "The heater thinks it's an airplane." "Then you're already cruising altitude," she said. "Tray tables up. I'll see you at 10. Back at the motel, I bought a 50-cent pencil from the vending machine because graphite tells the truth even when ink smears. I wrote a clean timeline. Summer Kara begs for quitclaim. I decline. Last week choir concert, phone in basket, Mobile transfer activated by trusted contact. 4 days later, ATM, midnight withdrawals near her subdivision. Last night, public ultimatum. I leave. Also last night, text from Kara asking me to be an adult. Today, bank freeze, credit freeze, police incident, notary query, appointment with Naomi. I copied my driver's license, social security card, and passport photo page onto the library copier because copies make future mornings kinder. Then I stood under the bathroom light and photographed my face, not a legal requirement, just a moment of inventory. I looked like a person who had finally left a room that stopped being a room. Before bed, I set the snow globe on its side again, just long enough to watch the flakes decide to be gentle. I filled out the bank's fraud affidavit, stopping when the motel pen tried to gossip and switching to my pencil. I put everything in a neat stack, then a plastic sleeve, then the tote. I put the tote in the bathtub because a podcast once told me bathtubs are the last thing to burn in a cheap fire. I do not plan on a fire. I plan on sleeping like a person with a meeting tomorrow at 10 with a lawyer whose voice wears running shoes. The heater sighed. The parking lot yawned. Somewhere. A strip mall camera held the picture of a hand at midnight that might belong to someone I love. Tomorrow. We'll ask for the footage and treat love like a truth that doesn't scare easily. I turned off the light. The motel room became a noun. I let it. Naomi Park's office smelled like paper that knows it will win. 10 a.m. found me there with my tote, the snow globe, and a timeline printed in fonts large enough to be forgiven by stress. Naomi stood late 30s, tidy ponytail, blazer the color of pencil lead, and offered a handshake that filed the edges off my panic. Tell me the nouns, she said. I did. From Christmas night to motel coffee to Regulation E with Edith, to ATM cameras and a notary seal that wants a better alibi. Naomi listened like a courtroom would be disappointed if she blinked. She slid a legal pad toward me. Good, she said. We're going to make 3 tracks run at once: money, house, devices. Elder wisdom. When your life splits into problems, don't carry them in one arm like groceries. Bag them. Label them. Walk in 2 trips if you must. Money, Naomi began, tapping the pad. Bank fraud team under Reg done. Will add pressure. I'll email their counsel with your incident number and demand the ATM footage before the camera overwrites. I'll also send a litigation hold to the Frozen Yogurt Plaza's property manager so they preserve their security video. It's not discovery yet, but it's a promise not to pretend the past is expensive. House, I asked. The deed, she said. You didn't sign, someone did. We'll pull the recorded image from the county recorder, plus the notary's journal entry if one exists. She smiled without warmth. Journal entries and counterfeit seals are allergic to each other. Light joke number 1. Allergies I support. I said, shall I bring tissues or affidavits? Affidavits, she answered. Tissues are for after. Devices, she went on, mean we send your daughter and her husband a preservation letter, don't delete texts, emails, or cloud backups, don't factory reset, don't lose the phone that logged the transfer. We also direct your cell carrier to give us a list of trusted devices and the IPs that changed your settings the night of the choir concert. She circled a phrase on her pad and read it aloud. Do not confuse family with permission. Academic phrase of the day. Chain of title. The public argument that a property's history is written in a stack of recorded documents. Each deed linked to the next. Break the chain with fraud and you don't own a house, you own a story with a gap. Courts repair gaps with evidence, not feelings. Naomi scanned my photocopy of the suspicious quitclaim, zoomed in on the notary number, and hummed. They added a 0, she said. Classic. We'll verify with the Secretary of State and the notary's journal. If the entry's missing or wrong, we'll file a complaint. Meanwhile, we prepare a slingshot quiet title if needed. But first, leverage. Leverage, not war, I repeated, because peace prefers a strategy. Exactly. We'll send Kara and Dean an invitation to behave, return funds, rescind any fraud, sign a stipulation acknowledging you as owner and co-borrower, and agree to sell or refinance properly, or we proceed to law enforcement and civil claims. Naomi's pen clicked, a tiny gavel. No yelling. Paper only. She dictated while I typed. Giving my fingers a job more useful than worry, cease and desist, re-account access, and mail. Demand for return of funds, litigation hold, demand to preserve ESI electronically stored information, notice to notary board. She paused. We'll also check the mortgage. If they ran a cash-out refinance using the fake deed, there'll be a loan my client never saw. Her eyes softened for a breath. You deserve a house that doesn't owe strangers money. We drove separately to the county recorder, where the fluorescent lights have never met subtlety. The clerk slid the book to our side of glass. Naomi paid for certified copies. There it was, quitclaim deed. Recorded 3 months ago. Evelyn Hartman grants to Kara Ellis and Dean Ellis. The signature looked like mine if my hand had been taught by a generous forger and a slightly drunk photocopier. The notary stamp matched the fake number on my copy. The witnessing names meant nothing to me. The mailing address for tax bills had been updated to Kara's house. Naomi put the copies in a manila folder like she was tucking in a witness. We send a demand to the recorder to flag this instrument as disputed, she said. Some counties will at least attach your affidavit so the title shows a red ribbon when anyone tries cute. Then we walk across the street. Across the street, the notary's listed business address at a mailbox rental store that sells keychains and optimism. The clerk knew the name. He rents box 214, she said. Comes monthly. Naomi handed over a business card. Tell him Attorney Park called regarding a journal entry from July 10th. He'll know which one. The clerk raised an eyebrow in a way that says she has watched a lot of things happen and survived most of them. Sidebar odd fact, in many states, notaries must keep a bound. Pre-numbered journal ink only logging each notarization date. Type, name, ID used, thumbprint for deeds. The thumbprint is the detective in the room. Counterfeiters prefer pens that don't ask for skin. We stopped at the bank branch where Edith's email had summoned a manager in a tie with decent manners. Naomi introduced me as my client with an e-case you want to handle correctly. And the manager printed the ATM timestamps on paper with earnest rectangles. He promised to request camera pulls immediately. We'll also flash freeze any card created on your profile in the last 60 days, he said. If someone cloned your debit, it will thaw only when we say spring. Light joke number 2. Spring. In 10 business days, I asked. He smiled like a man who has memorized compliance. Sooner. If the video shows a face we can't mistake for yours. At a coffee shop with chairs that vote for good posture. Naomi opened her laptop and assembled the packet demand letters. The recorder's copy, the incident number. The notary board complaint drafted but unsent. We give them a choice, she said. Fix it privately and fast, or meet the public version of this conversation. She looked at me over the lid. Do you want the criminal route? I want my money back. My name where it belongs. And peace, I said. If criminal is the only language they understand, we'll hire a translator. Otherwise. Leverage. Leverage it is. She hit send on the first wave to Kara and Dean, both personal and via a lawyer friend we suspected they would call, to the notary board. To the recorder with my affidavit attached. To the bank counsel with a please coordinate with branch manager. By late afternoon, Naomi's inbox started answering back. The recorder replied, affidavit received, instrument flagged, subject to dispute, title companies will see note. The bank counsel wrote, e-case escalated, ATM vendor notified, footage requested, provisional credit pending. The notary board auto-acknowledged with a ticket number, and a time horizon investigator will contact within 5 business days. No response yet from Kara or Dean. We scheduled tomorrow morning with a forensic document examiner, Miss Rains, who talks to inks like a choir director. She'll compare your known signatures to the recorded deed, Naomi said, if the forger traced you. She'll hear the hesitation in the line. She took a sip of something green. I like experts who own magnifying glasses. On my way out, my phone buzzed a text from an unknown number that wore Dean's cologne. We got your lawyer letter. This is insane. Take it back before we have to explain your mental state. I showed Naomi. She didn't blink. Reply with this, she said. Typing all communications to counsel. Preserve all devices and accounts. See attached hold notice. Any spoliation will be presented to the court. I pressed send and felt a small chair appear inside my chest. Light joke number 3. I almost wrote Merry Christmas, I said. Save it for when the provisional credit posts, Naomi replied. Evening returned me to the Maple Motel and its airplane heater, which had decided to be kind. I placed the recorder copies on the table like fresh bread and took photos for the secret email. The snow globe sat upright, flakes still. The tiny house making a case for roofs. I phoned Lucas and Mia from the parking lot because teenagers don't like sadness on speaker in the presence of vending machines. I'm okay, I told them. I'm with a lawyer who keeps nouns in jars. Lucas sent me a meme of a raccoon signing a contract. Mia texted a heart and then, Grandma, do you need stickers? Yes, baby, always. Before sleep. I wrote 3 lines on the motel pad, my nightly ledger that keeps the ceiling from interrupting. Problems divided into 3 bags, way less. Chain of title is just family tree for houses. Mine is growing back. Tomorrow, document examiner at 10. Ask recorder about mailing address fraud fix, bring the good pen so the affidavit doesn't feel alone. I set the snow globe on its side and watched the flakes do their little rehearsal for forgiveness. The heater hummed B flat, a little off but earnest, somewhere in a mailbox rental. A notary journal imagined being asked to speak, somewhere nearer. An inbox held a letter that gave 2 people the best chance they might ever have to choose repair. Here. A woman put her paperwork in order and laid down in a bed she didn't hate. A small achievement in a week that had finally learned how to tell the truth without shouting. Miss Rains's studio was tucked above a frame shop, the kind of place where paper learns manners. She greeted us in magnifying glasses that perched halfway down her nose like a wise bird and waved us toward a table lit as if it were auditioning for honesty. The recorded quitclaim sat under a cold lamp, my known signatures checks, the back of my driver's license. An old rental application fanned out like a small biography. Here's the short, she said. Gloving up, real signatures dance. Forgeries march. She pointed to the swoop in my capital E. Yours accelerates here, then relaxes. On the deed. That same curve has tremors, slow downs, where a tracer lifts their pen to think. She slid a printout with red arrows. See the hesitation marks, the ink pools at the end of strokes. That's not a flourish, that's fear. Elder wisdom. When you're tempted to doubt your own memory, borrow someone else's microscope. Truth is quiet, but it has texture. She examined the notary seal next. Under raking light, the raised impression turned out to be a print artifact, flat as a lie. Embosser or stamp, she asked. Stamp, I said. She nodded. Counterfeit number, wrong font spacing, and no transfer of pressure to the back of the page. She held it up. The backside was as calm as a hotel sheet. A real crimper leaves a bruise. Light joke number 1. So my signature should dance and the paper should bruise, I said. Messy relationship. Miss Rains smiled. Healthy one. She wrote a preliminary letter. It is my professional opinion. within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. That the signature purporting to be Miss Hartman's on the recorded quitclaim deed is non-genuine and likely produced by a slowly traced simulation. Naomi read it, breathed like a person untying a knot, and asked for a rush on the full report. Raines promised 48 hours and shooed us out with a gentleness reserved for people whose roofs have been insulted. Back at Naomi's office, Dory, the assistant with flight controller reflexes, had stacked replies like tidy bricks. "Recorder confirmed your affidavit is attached to the instrument," she said. And a title officer called to say they'll require resolution before insuring anything. Also, this came in. She slid over a thick PDF from a mortgage servicer I'd never met. Naomi clicked it open. "There it is," she said softly. "Cash out refinance 3 months ago. New principal $288,000. Disbursed $61, $400 to owner improvements and payoff of prior mortgage. $30,000 wired to a checking account ending in 32221. She scrolled. My stomach made the sound money makes when it jumps without a parachute. "There's a copy of the quitclaim in the loan file," Naomi added. "They used the fake deed to remove you, then signed a new mortgage as the only owners." Academic phrase of the day. Quiet title. The public lawsuit that asks a court to declare, once and for all, who owns a property when the chain of title gets polluted by mistakes or fraud. It doesn't award feelings, it records truth. "Servicer shows 2 missed payments," Dory said. "Notice of default in 20 days if not cured." Naomi looked at me. "That's leverage and a fire hazard. If they miss again, the house steps onto a conveyor belt called foreclosure." We printed the loan packet, the payment history, and the wire confirmation to the 32221 account. Naomi pulled the bank's response from her inbox too. The ATM vendor had secured the footage. The branch manager had flagged provisional credit pending. "Good," she said. "Money track is breathing." Then came the ping from the notary division investigator assigned. "We'll ask for the journal entry and thumbprint," Naomi said. "If the journal is missing or wrong, the notary's commission is a short-lived animal." Sidebar odd fact, real thumbprints aren't required in every state, but where they are, they go in a bound journal with permanent ink. Forgers avoid thumbs the way cats avoid bathtubs. In Los Angeles. Police once solved a mortgage fraud ring because someone left a perfect thumb in a notary book. Paper remembers. We built a second demand letter, this one to the mortgage servicer and lender counsel. Notice of recorded dispute and suspected forgery. Demand to freeze further advances. Request for full loan file including audio/video verifications. Advise that borrower identity is contested and litigation hold is in effect. Naomi added a sentence I liked more than coffee. Any further attempts to enforce or transfer this loan without acknowledgement of dispute may invite claims. In English, do nothing fancy. Light joke number 2, I love a good may invite claims, I said. It's the legal version of bless your heart. Naomi grinned, polite with teeth. At 2:11 p.m., my phone pulsed. A text from Kara. I heard you're trying to ruin our credit. Mom, stop. I put the phone face down and handed it to Naomi. She typed back from her address, all communications to counsel. Please review the packet. Offer to resolve enclosed. Deadline 5 p.m. tomorrow. Attached our settlement term sheet. We had written it in the tone of a chair, sturdy, not dramatic. 1. Return all withdrawn funds within 48 hours. 2. Execute a rescission and correction deed restoring me to title. 3. Agree to sell the property within 90 days or refinance properly with me on title and loan. 4. All net sale proceeds split 50% to me until $150,000 satisfied. Then proportional. 5 monthly payments of $2,500 to me beginning next month until arrears and agreed sum are paid. 6. No contact except through counsel. 7. Violation x immediate referral to DA and civil suit for fraud. conversion. Elder financial abuse, 8. Devices preserved, 9. Tax filings amended. 10. Apology letter to be kept private unless needed to explain to grandchildren why grandma has a new cottage. I read it twice, feeling equal parts steel and mercy. Terms or handcuffs, Naomi said. Not unkindly. We prefer terms. Dory poked her head in. Bank counsel on 1, she said. Naomi picked up, introduced herself, and lowered her voice to courtroom temperature. Yes, correct. We appreciate the e-case timeline, she said. We'll supplement with the document examiner's report. Please provide ATM stills for client review under privacy protocols. She hung up. Scribbled stills by Friday and turned to me. Money track is jogging now. We drove to the tax office next because fraud leaves footprints there too. The clerk printed a duplicate bill and a change of address card. Mail went to Cara Street. She confirmed. If you file a fraud notice, we can reset future notices to your P.O. box. I filled the form. Wrote my P.O. box in block letters like a spell and asked for a receipt stamped so hard the ink considered permanence. Light joke number 3. I'm going to buy that stamper a cupcake, I told the clerk. He's doing the Lord's paperwork. She laughed and stamped one more time for the road. By 4. We'd returned to Naomi's office, where Dory had secured a small conference room for a call with Cara and Dean's chosen attorney, a man whose website featured sunsets and compassionate advocacy. He joined with a sigh he probably thought sounded like gravitas. This is a family misunderstanding, he began. We can keep the police and the recorder out of it. Naomi's voice dropped a degree. Counsel, your clients recorded a forged deed, took cash out on a house they don't solely own, and bled a bank account of a woman who buys library pencils with cash. We've offered a private, fast settlement that keeps prosecutors bored. The alternative is discovery, subpoenas, and a notary investigator with a thumbprint habit. He cleared his throat. There were discussions about her gifting the house. Discussions didn't sign the deed, Naomi said. A tremor did. You'll have our examiner's report tomorrow. Please advise your clients that the mortgage servicer has flagged the loan. The recorder has attached a dispute, and the bank has our e-case. She paused long enough for the silence to find its jacket. We like private repairs, but paper is patient if we must go public. He asked for 48 hours. Naomi offered 24. They settled on 36 and an email by morning confirming devices would be preserved and no further draws attempted when the call ended. I felt a small animal stand down inside my ribs on my way back to the Maple. My phone buzzed again, this time Luca's grandma. Mom is mad, but I think Dad is quiet. Quiet is new. I wrote back. Quiet is a room where better sentences can happen. Mia chimed in with a photo of a sticker sheet, stars, hearts, one inexplicable avocado for your folder, she wrote. I promised the avocado a good job. The motel room looked less temporary at dusk. I placed the tax receipt, the lender notice, and the recorded deed copies in my expanding file under tabs Naomi had labeled like a person who trusts shelves. I set the snow globe upright, the flakes, for once, refused to perform. They just rested. Before bed, I wrote 3 lines on the motel pad, the nightly ceremony that keeps panic from drafting the first paragraph. Forgeries march, truth dances, and leaves scuffs paper can feel. Quiet title is a broom. We may not need to swing it if a letter cleans. Tomorrow examiner's full report, lender call, and a pot of soup for a woman who has been chewing paper all week. I turned off the light. The heater practiced its airplane, as loyal to B-flat as refrigerators always are, somewhere. A mailbox rental held a journal that could remember what a thumb looks like, somewhere else. An attorney explained to two people that a settlement is not surrender. It's the last off-ramp before a road with flashing lights. Here. A woman lay very still and listened to paper settle on a table. The gentle sound a house makes when it starts to get its name back. Morning arrived in librarian lighting, quiet, steady. The kind that expects you to whisper your verbs. Naomi texted at 8:03, rains delivered. Non-genuine. Trace simulation. Counterfeit seal. The PDF landed like a chair being pulled out for me. I printed 2 copies at the lobby computer while the Maples heater pretended to be a jet at taxi speed, then tucked the report into my folder behind the tab labeled Dance vs. March. Elder wisdom. If you can choose between shouting and showing, pick showing. Throats heal slowly, paper heals on the stamp. Naomi's office had already assembled the day into neat stacks. Dory set tea by my elbow and slid over our Plan 1 calm meeting. 4 documents, 3 off-ramps. We would offer terms that traded noise for speed return funds. Restore title, sell or refinance properly, pay me back in scheduled bites, and keep the grandchildren out of adult weather. In the alternative, we would introduce Kara and Dean to the public institutions that collect broken promises. Naomi reviewed the examiner's letter out loud, not for drama, but to warm up the words, hesitation tremors at pen lifts, pooled ink at stroke terminals, inconsistent pressure, a slowly traced simulation. She tapped the counterfeit notary section. Wrong seal number, wrong spacing, no reverse bruise. The paper itself disagrees. She printed a 1-page summary with pictures and little arrows. A visual aid for people who argue with adjectives. Lender call at 10:15, Dory said. Servicers Council and their loss mitigation person. Naomi smirked. The department where numbers go to confess. We dialed in. Counsel spoke first, crisp and careful. We've frozen any line advances. We've noted the dispute in the loan. We acknowledge receipt of the examiner's preliminary. Loss mitigation cleared her throat into a microphone that had seen some things. 2 payments late. We can offer a 30-day forbearance while identities clarify. Naomi took the win without applause. Thank you. Please memorialize, she added. Sweet as vinegar. And no transfer of servicing during the dispute. Academic phrase of the day. Litigation hold the public argument that once a dispute is reasonably anticipated, everyone must stop deleting. Devices, emails, journals preserve, or the judge will let the missing pieces testify against you. We had already sent the hold. Today, we would make it personal at noon. Kara and Dean arrived with their attorney, Mr. Sunset Website. Kara wore a cardigan the color of denial. Dean looked like a man whose tie had opinions. They sat opposite us at the conference table that makes everyone sit taller. Dory clicked the recorder. Naomi began. Thank you for coming. We'll be brief. She placed 4 pages in front of them, Rains's findings. The recorder copy with my affidavit stapled to it. The bank's e-case confirmation, and our term sheet. These are not insults, she said. They are facts that want homes. She pointed to the examiner's arrows. This signature is not Evelyn's. The seal is wrong. The deed is voidable. The loan you took with it is now a very nervous animal. Light joke number 1. And nervous animals tend to chew shoes, I said. The loan's shoes are your credit score. Mr. Sunset attempted compassion. There were misunderstandings. Evelyn intended to gift the house. Naomi didn't raise an eyebrow. She just slid a copy of my unsigned quitclaim request from 2 summers ago. She did not sign then, Naomi said, and she did not sign now. She laid the notary board acknowledgement ticket number on top like a mint on a pillow. An investigator will soon be asking for a thumbprint that doesn't exist. Dean started a sentence with listen, the way men sometimes do to radios. Naomi put a finger on the litigation hold paragraph. Listen to this first, she said. Preserve your phones, laptops, cloud backups, no resets, no lost devices. Spoliation, the act of making evidence disappear, turns civil problems into criminal problems very quickly. We prefer civil, we prefer private. That choice is still available. Kara stared at the arrows on the page like they had betrayed her. "We needed the cash," she said finally. Voice small and sharp, the roof, the braces, everything. I heard Mia's mouth guard in there somewhere, and Lucas's cleats, and late fees that made it in the dark. Needing is a real verb, it is not a deed. Naomi slid the term sheet back into their eyeline. One bullet at a time. Return the ATM withdrawals within 48 hours. She nodded at the bank letter. "Provisional credit is coming. We prefer your funds, not the bank's grace. Execute a correction deed," she continued, restoring Evelyn's title. She tapped the recorder's stamp. "The county has flagged the forgery. This cures it. Sell within 90 days or refinance properly with Evelyn on title and loan." She looked at Dean. "The servicer has granted a 30-day forbearance. Use it to stop the fire, not to warm your hands." "Payments," she said, "of $2,500 monthly to Evelyn beginning next month until the agreed $150,000 is satisfied, plus any arrears. Failure to pay converts this meeting into exhibits. Sidebar odd fact. Those blue correction fluid tapes that fix typos don't actually erase ink. They lay down a thin layer of opaque polymer that new ink sits on. Recording a correction deed is a bit like that, no erasing history. Just writing the truth over the lie so future eyes read the right story." Kara bristled at the number. 150,000. "That's robbery." Naomi's voice stayed in the calm register reserved for honest forms. "That is roughly the equity Evelyn would recover after a proper sale or refi. Less costs, plus the money you already took. It is a discount from criminal penalties. It is a gift disguised as math." Dean leaned forward, elbows telegraphing a need to perform. Naomi cut him off with kindness sharpened to a point. "Sir, I recommend silence unless you are about to agree. Your emails mention the ATM by the yogurt place. Your phones will remember. Don't make me ask them." Light joke number 2. I nudged the cookie plate Dory had smuggled in. "Snickerdoodle?" I asked. "Negotiations do better with cinnamon. No one took one. Good. Rules first, sugar later." Mr. Sunset asked for the afternoon. Naomi offered 2 hours in a quiet room down the hall. "You may not remove documents," she said. "You may take photos. All communications after this come through counsel. No texts to my client. She is busy growing a roof." When they left, I realized I hadn't unclenched my hand since hello. Naomi poured tea into a paper cup and passed it over like a permission slip. "You're doing well," she said. "You're letting the exhibit speak." "Do you think they'll sign?" I asked. "I think their options are getting shorter," she said. "Short options are very persuasive." At 2:25, Mr. Sunset returned without his adjectives. "We have counterpoints." Naomi smiled. "We accept improvements." They wanted 60 days to return the ATM cash. Naomi wrote 48 again, underlined. They wanted 6 months to sell. Naomi wrote 90 days and circled the lender email about default. They wanted to pay me $1,500 monthly. Naomi wrote $2,500, then gift disguised as math added a 6-month review to reduce to $2,000 if payments were on time and the sale had closed or the refi had funded. "Good faith has coupons," she said. "It clips itself." They asked to remove the line about the DA. "No," Naomi said. "It stays asleep unless you poke it." They asked that the apology letter be private. "It already is," Naomi said. "We have grandchildren who don't need a headline." They asked if they could keep living in the house until the sale. Naomi looked at me. I thought about my snow globe and small people with backpacks. Yes, I said. If payments start and the forbearance is used for the mortgage, not for vacations. Light joke number 3, and not for yogurt, I added. Even Naomi smiled. We broke for 20 minutes so they could confer with family. I stood by the window and watched December act like a calendar model blue, chilly, uninterested in human subplots. My phone buzzed. Luca's grandma, is this... Bad, I typed back. It's math. Math is fixable when people show their work. He replied with an emoji of a pencil doing sit-ups. I showed Naomi. She nodded solemnly. Strong pencil. Useful in court. At 3:05, signatures began to look probable. Mr. Sunset cleared his throat. We accept. With your review clause. Naomi slid the signature pages across. One said for the correction deed. One for the settlement. One for the lender authorization, allowing her to speak to the servicer as if she were the house's interpreter. Kara's hand shook. Rains's words about dancing versus marching flashed in my head. I pulled a tissue from the box and set it near her elbow without ceremony. She signed. Dean followed, pen heavy. Naomi notarized with a stamp that left a real bruise on the back of the page. We like honest bruises, she said softly. We calendared the first payment and the 48-hour return of the ATM withdrawals. The bank transfer instructions printed on paper that smelled like compliance. Dory scheduled the recorder appointment for the morning, correction deed in our bag with a clip that looked pleased to be useful. Naomi sent the executed settlement to the lender and the notary board with a note civil resolution pending. Investigation continues. Please advise on journal. By 4, the day had turned into a ledger that added up. Naomi walked me to the elevator and waited while I folded the signed copies into my file. This isn't over, she said. But you moved it from theft to plan. Plans are where peace hangs its coat. On my drive back to the Maple, the heater tried new keys and settled on B flat like it always does. I stopped by the grocery and bought carrots, onions, and a small chicken soup is the ceremony by which I return to myself, in the room. I set the snow globe upright and watched the flakes consider the concept of done. Not yet, they seem to say, but soon. Before sleep, I wrote my 3-line ledger on the motel pad. Showing beats shouting, arrows beat arguments. Litigation holds turn oops into don't. Tomorrow recorder at 9, bank by noon, soup by honest appetite. I placed the signed settlement under the brass-colored paperclip Naomi calls the moon. Turned off the light. And let the heater hum me toward a night where even paper rests. Somewhere across town, a roof kept its promise to a small angel at the top of a tree. Here, a woman allowed herself to believe that a house could get its name back one stamp, one transfer, one bowl of soup at a time. Friday clocked in with a stamp in its pocket. I woke before the Maple's heater could choose a new personality, stacked the signed pages like pancakes, and drove toward the county recorder under a sky that had finally learned restraint. Naomi met me on the steps, gloves, clipboard, a smile calibrated to we're almost boring. Elder wisdom, after the big yes, do the little yeses fast. Peace is a plant, water it while the potting soil is still warm. Inside, the recorder's counter hummed with unglamorous heroism. We handed over the correction deed Kara and Dean's fresh signatures. Naomi's honest bruise of a notary stamp and my affidavit. The clerk read the heading, nodded as if paper had just apologized, and said, "We'll index this today. The disputed instrument stays, but points to this." A Red Sea also note appeared on her screen like a conscience. She slid the pages beneath a glass bar that looked like it could iron out lies. "Receipt will email," she said. "Welcome back to title, Miss Hartman." Light joke number 1. I whispered to Naomi. "Does title send fruit baskets?" "No," she said. "But we can get you a copy with the good watermark." We crossed the street to the branch bank, Edith's manager tie-tidy. Empathy reasonable had kept his promise. ATM footage is sequestered, he said, sliding a paper across. Provisional credit pending by end of day. Permanent once the vendor confirms the face isn't yours. He flicked his eyes to my hair, to the screen, back to me. I can tell already, he added, almost smiling. He handed me the form for the still images when counsel clears it. Naomi tucked it into the folder labeled "Money is a verb." Academic phrase of the day. Restitution. The public idea that when you take something that isn't yours. The first math is simple. Put it back. Courts add interest. Peace adds sleep. By noon. My phone chimed the sound of a life unclenching. Provisional credit $1,000 plus $980. The numbers landed in my checking like a casserole left respectfully at the door. I sent Edith a thank you email with more sincerity than grammar and forwarded the alert to Naomi, who replied with a single emoji shaped like a sturdy chair. We ate soup at a corner cafe that treated butter like a civic duty. Naomi reviewed the afternoon to-do in nouns, servicer acknowledgement of correction deed. First, 2,500 transfers scheduled. Forbearance letter in writing. Notary board investigator call at 3. Document examiner's full report in our mailbox by end of day. She paused. Do you have somewhere you like to sit that isn't the maple? I like the library, I said, and the idea of a porch. The word porch felt like a key hidden under a rock I'd forgotten I owned. On cue. My phone buzzed. Dory servicer confirms receipt. 30-day forbearance documented. Loan notes show identity dispute, hold transfer. Also, your first $2,500 posted to the escrow account, released to you tomorrow. I breathed the way people breathe when the elevator doors actually open on their floor. Sidebar, odd fact. The little decorative flecks in some papers are called security fibers. Under UV light, they glow like fireflies. Old banknotes use them. Some recorders still use fibered stock for certified copies. Paper can be festive and serious at once. At 3. The notary board investigator called from a number that sounded like a filing cabinet. Miss Kemp asked for the short version. Naomi gave it to her without adverbs. We'll subpoena the journal, Miss Kemp said, if there's no thumbprint for a deed, that is, educational. Her deadpan was a Christmas gift. We may refer to the DA if the pattern justifies it. I understand you have a civil resolution in motion. We do, Naomi said. Our preference is private repair, but we won't stand in the way of sunlight. After we hung up. Naomi turned to me. This is the part where you get to choose how loud outcomes are. We can keep the apology letter private. We can also insist on a line that says, I won't call my mother a freeloader again. Your call. I want the grandchildren to learn from math. Not headlines, I said. Private is fine, but the math stays. Light joke number 2. You just described my brand, Naomi said. Private, with math. By late afternoon, Rain's full report hit our inbox, 30 pages of magnified squiggles, pressure maps, timelines, and the unkind truth about counterfeit seals. Naomi sent it to Mr. Sunset with a cover note that began, as promised, and ended. Please confirm your client's devices remain preserved. His reply was short, confirmed. First payment made. Correction deed recorded. Please send copy when indexed. The new tone a little less sunset, a little more weather suited him. I drove back to the Maple with a bag of groceries that sounded like soup and a small rosemary plant shaped like a Christmas tree. The motel lamp wore the rosemary like a hat and didn't complain. I set the snow globe beside it, house beside house. Tiny and stubborn. The email pinged again. Recorder index complete. I clicked and saw the digital ribbon, correction deed C also. My name sat there like it had been waiting in a chair it always owned. Noah called from the curb of his own story. We got a copy of the plan framed on the fridge, he said. Day 2 payment scheduled. Therapy again next Wednesday. Ava cooked without narrating the onions. He paused. Mom, thank you for keeping this off the news. The kids are okay. I'm okay too, I said, surprised to hear it and find it true. I bought a rosemary plant that thinks it's a tree. We'll call that a start. He laughed the relief laugh. Lucas wants to know if the snow globe made it. It did, I said. The house inside kept its roof. We spoke of small things, the library pencils I'd promised. Mia's chorus concert rescheduled. The way soup tastes after paper stops arguing. He asked if I'd consider looking at little rental cottages near the park. Porches, he said, the way one says a password. I'll look tomorrow, I said. Evening asked for quiet chores. I logged the correction deed in a folder called Boring Wins, printed the forbearance letter, and taped a tiny paid sticky under the calendar square where the first $2,500 would land. I wrote 2 notes, one to Miss Camp, thanking her for the call, one to Edith, thanking her for math with manners. Thank you notes are how I keep from turning into someone who loves victory more than process. At 7, my phone flashed unknown Kara. I let voicemail do the polite interception. Her message was smaller than her Christmas speech. Mom. I signed. We're paying. I'm embarrassed. Thank you for not making it worse. She cleared her throat. Mia says the snow globe is hers when you're 100. I saved the message in a folder called Human. Light joke number 3. I texted Mia. You can have it at 99 if you promise not to put raccoon stickers on it. She replied with an avocado. I made soup. The kind with enough carrots to count as optimism. I ate with the window cracked and the heater humming its faithful B-flat, trying harmonies. The rosemary plant pretended to be a tree with courage. I practiced saying porch out loud until the word stopped sounding like permission and started sounding like a plan. Before bed, I wrote the 3-line ledger on the motel pad, the little ceremony that keeps the ceiling from composing a sad opera. Restitution is just a long word for put it back. Index, complete a ribbon that tells strangers the truth before they knock. Tomorrow, look at cottages with porches. Bring a tape measure and ask the landlord if the heater sings in B-flat or negotiates. I set the snow globe on its side. Watch the flakes decide to rest. Then set it upright because houses should not sleep wrong for long. Somewhere, a notary investigator pulled a bound journal off a shelf and flipped to July, looking for a thumbprint that does not exist somewhere else. A servicer's database added a line, do not transfer, identity dispute, borrower restored. Here, in a motel room with good intentions and noisy vents. A woman lay down like a person who had earned tomorrow's errands porches. Pencils. Rosemary that smells like refusal and dinner at the same time. The night agreed. It didn't clap. It filed. Saturday arrived with a tape measure and good manners. I circled 3 cottage listings with porches that looked like they'd hold a rocking chair and a cup that forgives. The Maples heater hummed its usual B-flat, as if to say, find my successor. I put the snow globe in my toad house consul's house and drove toward the first address, a street where maples lean like chaperones. The landlord, Mrs. Groves, met me with a key on a ribbon and the posture of someone who has outlived 6 paint colors. We get morning sun and responsible squirrels, she said, unlocking a door that had learned to open quietly. The front room smelled like pine and a good decision. The porch faced east. The floorboards had the soft creak of wood that keeps your secrets. I measured the nook where a small table might go. Then the bedroom window for curtains that can mind their own business. Elder wisdom. When you're choosing a new home, don't ask, is it lovely? Ask, where will the quiet sit? Place a chair there first. Let the rest of your life orbit that chair. We walked the rooms in gentle triangles. New furnace, honest thermostat, Mrs. Grove said. Lease is simple. Rent checks prefer the first of the month. I asked the question I promised myself I'd ask any issues with past tenants and porch politics. She smiled. We do hello here. We don't do opinions from the steps. Sold, I thought, like a person paying in relief. Academic phrase of the day. Quiet enjoyment. The public argument that your lease buys you more than walls. It buys the right to live without unreasonable interference, not silence. Exactly respect that fits in a mailbox. I called Naomi from the porch so she could hear the boards approve. Lease reads clean, she asked. 1 page, nouns only, I said. Right of quiet enjoyment. No surprise inspections. Reasonable repairs with reasonable notices. She hummed like a woman who packs statutes for picnics. Sign. Forward me a copy for the folder labeled Roof Actual. Light joke number 1. I told Mrs. Groves I could pay the deposit today if your key likes honest pockets. She laughed. My keys are moralists. By noon. The lease wore my name like it had been waiting. I took photos for the Boring Winds archive, slid the first month's check across, and accepted a second key for the avocados. Mrs. Grove said, Deadpan. They get peckish. We set a move-in day for next Friday. Bring a plant, she added. Houses like being introduced to their future. I stopped at the library to print copies, lease. Forbearance letter. Recorder C also. The bank's provisional credit notice. The children's table was full of tiny people arguing kindly about crayons. I fed the donation jar the promised little celebration and asked the librarian for 2 sheets of star stickers. For a calendar that behaves, I said. Outside. I texted Noah Lee signed, porch acquired, keys like me. He replied with an emoji that looked exactly like a small exhale. Back at the Maple. I filled out a USPS change of address form online and set a mail hold through the move. Then I called the bank to set the new address for statements. Edith replied herself. Her knitwear voice warm. Done. Also permanent credit on your 2 withdrawals is likely once the stills finalize Monday. She paused. We appreciate tidy customers. I nearly told her about the Snow Globe's attendance record. Sidebar odd fact. The USPS's National Change of Address File and COA quietly updates thousands of mailers if you move and file properly. Your magazines will find you like homing pigeons with better shoes. Fraudsters sometimes fudge a house number to catch mail. NCOA shrugs and delivers to the truth. In the afternoon, I walked the cottage block to meet my future radius, a hardware store that believes in screws, a bakery that believes in second chances for croissants, and a park where benches face trees instead of arguments. A boy zipped by on a scooter, helmet decorated with stickers that looked like decisions he could live with. A neighbor waved and said, Welcome. Just like that, no audition. Light joke number 2. I bought a doormat that says nouns only because even my threshold has preferences. At 4, Naomi called with the kind of update that doesn't shout, Servicer received correction deed. Loan notes changed to co-owner restored, hold foreclosure track during forbearance. First, $2,500 is queued for morning release. I'll confirm. Also, Mr. Sunset sent proof of device preservation. The notary investigator has subpoenaed the journal. She softened. Do you want to see the ATM stills when we get them? I thought of love as a thing that shouldn't be asked to pose. Only if we need the face to finish a sentence, I said. Otherwise, I prefer the math. Kara texted, We'll make the payment tomorrow. I'm sorry for the word I used. It tasted worse coming back. I let the sentence sit, then replied, Thank you. Keep the schedule. Teach the kids about deadlines, not villains. She sent a single, okay, which is exactly the right number of syllables for learning. I spent early evening putting home into motion ordered a small table and 2 chairs that don't creak for attention. Curtain rods that respect drywall. A lamp with a shade that makes evening look hired. I found a second-hand rocker online and messaged the seller. "Does it object to libraries?" He replied with a photo of it next to a stack of paperbacks. "It's fluent." Noah stopped by with a bag of practical cheer painter's tape, felt pads for chair feet, a screwdriver that had seen things. I drove by the cottage. He confessed. Sheepish. It looks like the kind of porch where sentences end kindly. We stood in the motel doorway and practiced Future Logistics Friday move-in. Saturday thrift store run. Sunday rest like grown-ups. He scratched his jaw. Ava's cooking twice a week and then going to her sister's some nights. The timer lives on the table now. He smiled. Small but noticeable. No condiment fights in 3 days. We called the grandkids from the parking lot, because motel acoustics make feelings sound taller. Lucas wanted to know if my new porch would support a chessboard. It prefers checkers but will tolerate strategy, I said. Mia asked about the snow globe. It will have a shelf, I promised, and a rule no raccoon stickers until you're 30. She snorted. What about avocados case by case? I said. Light joke number 3, Noah asked if the heater had pledged allegiance to B-flat. We're negotiating, I said. I'm bringing Rosemary as a mediator. Night drew its quiet lines. I laid out tomorrow's errands, buy a P.O. Box key copy for the cottage drawer, pick up a welcome mat that doesn't apologize, ask Mrs. Groves whether the porch light takes standard bulbs or special ones that cost opinions, call the utility companies with a voice that knows the account numbers. I wrote 2 thank you cards, one to Edith for math with manners, may your stills be decisive, one to Miss Kemp for asking paper to speak. I addressed them in print, because emotions can't hijack block letters. Before bed, I did the small ritual that keeps the ceiling from writing its own story 3 lines on the Maples notepad. Steady handwriting, no flourishes. Quiet enjoyment begins with a key on a ribbon and a landlord who says hello. NCOA is the Postal Service's way of saying, I see you. Friday keys, tape measure, a chair for the quiet, and a list that fits in a pocket. I set the snow globe upright on the motel dresser and tipped it once, just once. To watch the storm remember it's decorative, in the darkness. I could feel the cottage like a soft square on a map, ready to be colored in by bowls, a lamp, a chair placed exactly where the quiet will sit, somewhere. A notary journal waited to reveal its missing thumb, and a servicer's database held my name steady under co-owner restored, here. A woman in a motel bed negotiated kindly with the heater and let B-flat do what it does, promise continuity without applause. The night didn't give me a speech. It offered me a porch. I accepted. Sunday wore its sleeves rolled and its voice low. I spread moving lists on the Maples little desk, utilities. Change of address confirmations. The bring first box with mugs. Tea. And a towel that knows how to forgive. The snow globe waited by the door like a tiny realtor. I called the power company first. A human answered miracle. And put the cottage in my name starting Friday at noon. Water, gas, trash followed, each with a confirmation number that sounded like lullabies for accountants. Elder wisdom. When you begin a new life, let the first thing you unpack be the thing that makes you gentlest a cup. A lamp. A chair placed for breathing. The rest can arrive after you remember you're human. Noah arrived with coffee and painter's tape eyebrows, ready to meet your porch again. We caravanned my sedan with boxes labeled in a handwriting that has forgiven itself. His hatchback with tools and 2 folding chairs that have already served 20 family crises. The cottage met us with kind light. I unlocked the door key. Ribbon, click, and the house made a sound like it approved of my pulse. We set the folding chairs where the quiet would sit and took 5 minutes to do the opposite of a speech. Academic phrase of the day. Condition precedent. The public idea that certain obligations only begin after a specific event. Today's event, a key turns. And suddenly, every later can start being now. We walked the rooms like new parents in a nursery. Noah tested windows. I measured shelves. He held up the doormat that says nouns only and grinned. It's your whole brand. Add verbs sparingly, I said. We taped off a small square for the rocker and the lamp. This is where you'll tell me nothing for 20 minutes, he said. Correct. Silence is our best hobby. Light joke number 1. I held up his screwdriver and declared it Saint Philip's of second chances. He bowed. Patron saint of renters and sons. At noon. The first settlement payment hit 2,500 memo line empty and accurate. I screenshotted it to Naomi with 2 words, good faith. She replied, receipted. Miss Reyes texted from Dorsey Court a single broom emoji and quiet lobby. Because some storylines behave once you stop feeding them an audience. We took a break on the porch steps with grocery store sandwiches. Feet planted on possibility. Lucas arrived on his bike. Helmet scuffed by new evidence. He circled twice, dismounted like a diplomat, and handed me a chess set. For the porch, he said. Performing normalcy with admirable effort. I lifted the lid. The rook looked ready to call a committee. The knight looked like it had already apologized. Evenings, I promised, when mosquitoes clock out. Mia came later with a gift bag that made the tissue paper act like it had a personality. Inside a string of tiny starlights. A handwritten coupon for 1 shelf organized without commentary, and a sheet of avocado stickers. For your file, she said. Avocados are promoted. We hung the lights along the porch rail. Daylight caught the plastic and threw quiet confetti. Sidebar odd fact. In the 1800s, some porches doubled as summer kitchens because indoor stoves roasted the house. Families moved the heat outside and conversation followed. That's why old porch floors are painted gray-blue. Folklore says it confuses insects by imitating water. True or not? The color persuades ankles and moods. Kara texted a photo from their kitchen chili on the stove. Timer at 10. The for sliding only dish centered like a small constitution. Payment sent, she wrote. Correction deed recorded. We're listing by Wednesday. Thank you for... The sentence stopped without crashing. I typed back. Got it. Keep the schedule. Teach the kids how calendars work. After a minute, okay, she sent a single-syllable bridge. We assembled the thrift store rocker Noah hunted down. Its joints spoke in polite clicks. The seat remembered how to cradle a person who reads weather even when it's indoors. I set the snow globe on the mantle. House meets house, I said. Terms roofs stay. Noah placed the rosemary plant in the kitchen window. The room smelled like dinner and refusal. Light joke number 2. Lucas asked if the doormat bans adverbs. Only the bossy ones, I said. Kindly may stay. Mid-afternoon. Naomi called to say the lender had logged the correction deed and paused any foreclosure scripts. Your name is where it belongs, she said. The loan is now a puzzle, not a highway. She'd also heard from Miss Kemp the notary's journal had no thumbprint for my deed date. He'll be explaining that to someone with a badge. Relief doesn't cheer. It sets down a bag it forgot it was carrying. Noah ran a hardware errand, leaving me with the house. I walked room to room and said 3 sentences out loud. You're safe. You don't have to perform. We'll keep you clean. The walls didn't answer, but the air quit bracing. I unboxed plates, stacked them like white commas that know when to pause. I lined a drawer with paper that pretends to be lace. I draped a towel over the oven handle because kitchens are kinder when they have something to hold. Around 5, Lorraine appeared with a paper sack, her face set to a temperature humans can survive. Olive bread, she said. Peace offering with a flexible return policy. We stood on the porch and let the weather do some of the work. "Thank you for not setting my daughter on fire," she said, almost smiling. "I'm learning to let consequences speak first. You can visit," I said. "Porch only. For now." She nodded. "I work well with furniture." We played a short chess game with Lucas while Mia organized the tea shelf with a competence that would annoy the reckless. I lost to Lucas on purpose only once. The second game, he checkmated me. Because teen boys are magnetized to diagonals when their lives remember the straight lines they owe. We celebrated with lemonade and the kind of laughter that doesn't audition for later. Light joke number 3. I told Mia the avocado sticker could go on the file tab labeled "Boring Wins." "It's an honor," she said, sticking it slightly crooked on purpose so the folder wouldn't get cocky, as dusk did its quiet stagecraft. Noah installed the porch light bulb standard base. Affordable glow, and we sat in 4-chair democracy, eating pie out of napkins because plates would have required geography. The little starlights remembered their job and did it without commentary. Down the street. The library windows glowed the way trustworthy windows glow. Before they left, Noah tapped the porch post like a tree he intends to visit again. "You did it," he said. "You made a noun, we did it," I said. We behaved like sentences. He kissed my forehead the way a son kisses his first language. When the house went quiet, I did what keeps the ceiling from inventing monologues. I wrote a 3-line ledger on a card and slid it under the brass paperclip I brought from the maple. Keys turned, condition met, payments posted. Porches teach posture. Tomorrow unpack the lamp, make tea. Sit in the rocker until the stars admit their bulbs. The new heater hummed a note flatter than B flat and A that sounded like its shoulders relaxed. I approved. I washed 2 mugs and left them to dry like a promise. I set the doormat and locked the door. The snow globe on the mantel didn't need shaking. Outside. A cricket did its single instrument symphony. Inside. A chair kept its corner warm for grief that can visit but no longer gets to redecorate. I turned off the lamp, and the cottage held me like it had practiced. Monday woke up practical and put its hair in a clip. I made tea and sat on the porch with the chess set Lucas had donated rooks, pretending to be serious. Night, practicing humility. My new key lay on the table like a small medal for paperwork. The first of the month lived on the calendar, the settlement payment posted at 8:07 a.m., punctual like a bus with something to prove. I texted Naomi funds received. She replied receipted. Lender notes updated. Identity dispute resolved. Co-owner restored. Sale timeline acknowledged. Carry on. Elder wisdom. After a crisis, don't sprint toward joy. Walk toward chores. Joy is a shy animal. Chores call it out without scaring it. I unpacked slowly. Lamp first light knows what to do. Then the rocker for breathing, then the tea for translating mornings into English. The snow globe took the mantle like it had a job. The rosemary kept its post in the kitchen window, smelling like dinner and boundaries. I wrote 3 postcards to the people who held the week steady Edith at the bank for math with manners. Miss Kemp at the notary board for asking paper to speak, and Naomi for turning nouns into exits. At 10. Miss Reyes from Dorsey Court sent a 2-word weather report, lobby quiet. Elise added civility lunch and learn scheduled next month. You and Miss Reyes still opening? I typed back yes. Then wrote my 2 minutes on an index card, rules are kindness with addresses. Volume is expensive. If you can't be gentle, be brief. Academic phrase of the day. Compliance audit. The public checkup that asks, did you do what you promised? Not personal, not poetic, just receipts with dates. Families need them, too. We call them calendars. Call them by noon. Naomi forwarded a note from the servicer listing appointments scheduled, forbearance confirmed, no transfer of servicing allowed during dispute. Attached was a copy of the correction deed as it appears in their system. My name sitting like a chair with good back support. I printed it for the boring wins folder and put an avocado sticker on the tab because Mia says boring should get decorations when it behaves. Kara texted, "We met the realtor. Staging Thursday. I told the kids we're moving because grown-ups didn't do grown-up math. I didn't say villains." I stared at that last line for a second longer than I meant to. "Thank you," I wrote back. Teach them packing is just a way to carry memories without letting them boss you. Light joke number 1. Lucas asked if he could pre-reserve my porch for chess on Fridays. I said, "We require a deposit of 1 joke and the willingness to lose gracefully." He replied with a photo of a raccoon in a tie. "Denied," I wrote. "Try an avocado." In the afternoon, I walked to the library to return the star stickers receipt and add a small donation for the kids' table, their crayons, police, their own line. The librarian asked how the move went. "The porch has opinions," I said. "They're kind." She nodded like a person who respects furniture with morals. Sidebar odd fact. Porch ceilings in the American South are often painted haint blue, a soft blue-green meant to confuse ghosts and mosquitoes by mimicking water or sky, even when the superstition misses. The blue lowers blood pressure by accident. I bought a quart for my ceiling, call it science with folk manners. Back home, I drafted a 1-page house manual for myself, 1 water rosemary, not worries, 2 rock for 10 minutes before opening mail, 3 if a sentence wants to become a speech. Feed it soup. I taped it inside a kitchen cabinet where the sugar lives, on purpose. Near dusk. Lorraine appeared at the gate holding a brown paper bag that smelled like olive bread and apology. "I won't stay," she said. "Staying anyway for 1 breath. I'm grateful you didn't make a circus." "I'm teaching myself to let consequences do the talking." She glanced at the porch. "This suits you. It suits nouns," I said. "Verbs visit if they behave." We traded neutral blessings, health, receipts, shelves, and she retreated down the walk with the dignity of someone practicing a smaller voice. Noah came by with felt pads for chair feet and a crooked grin. "The kids want to help you paint haint blue," he said. "Can we bribe you with lemonade? We scheduled Saturday." He put the pads on the rocker like a man blessing a ship, then sat and tried out silence. It fit. "Ava and I met with Dr. Sal again," he said. "We used the timer twice, slid 2 notes, no speeches." He looked almost bashful. "It feels like we're doing middle school correctly on our 2nd try." Light joke number 2. "Middle school is advanced coursework," I said. "The diploma is just 2 adults agreeing about the dishwasher." A message from Miss Kemp pinged at 6:12 preliminary notary, finding no thumbprint entry on the relevant date. Journal sequence irregular, license records requested. "We may refer," she wrote. Concise as a gavel. I forwarded to Naomi, who answered, "Sunlight pending. Your settlement holds regardless." Dinner was soup, because soup is the ceremony of relief. I ate on the porch steps where the starlights threw little commas on the floorboards. Across the street, a kid practiced trumpet politely. B-flat reported for work. I let the note ride the evening like a careful bicycle. Tuesday slid into Wednesday. The cottage learned my footsteps. I set up the 4-sliding-only dish on my own table, because I, too, am a person who needs to write. Please lower your voice. To myself when a bill arrives with an attitude. I put the little timer beside it. A lighthouse you can carry from room to room. Midweek. The bank made the provisional credit permanent. Edith called personally. "Video confirmed a face that isn't yours," she said. "Funds restored. We'll pursue recovery from the ATM operator." I wrote her a thank you that used the word grateful without apology and tucked a bookstore gift card inside because people who rescue math deserve stories. Kara sent a photo of moving boxes labeled with actual nouns books. Betting, games, no misc. She knows my religion. "We're looking at duplexes," she texted. "Budget tight? Kids packing their rooms like they're pretending to be brave." I typed. "Brave is mostly boring. It's tape guns and lists." I'm sorry for the tape, not for the lists." She replied with a small thanks. Progress often arrives in lowercase. Light joke number 3. Mia asked if the avocado on my boring wins folder had unionized. I said yes. It negotiated mandatory snack breaks. On Friday, the realtor's yard sign went in for sale. Tidy font, no exclamation marks. The photo looked like a house trying to remember its best side. I drove past once, not to gloat, just to make sure the roof kept its promise. I left a note in the mailbox addressed to the house. "Not the people, thank you for sheltering us. Be kind to the next crew. Houses understand being spoken to. They've been listening for years." Saturday. Noah and the kids came with lemonade and the Haint Blue Quart. We taped edges, rolled paint, and argued gently about whether the color was more lake or sky. The ceiling accepted the compromise without a speech. Luca set up the chessboard. Mia arranged the tea shelf like a boss who pays on time. Ava arrived later with a casserole she didn't introduce as a moral lesson. She put it on the counter, set a timer for 10, and asked, "Where do you want me?" I pointed at the brush tray. "Edges," I said, "just borders." She smiled without performance. "I can paint inside lines." We tested the sentence. It held. By evening, the porch wore its blue and the chairs wore their pads. We ate on paper plates that didn't demand a dishwasher treaty. Lorraine walked by, waved, and kept walking exactly right. Naomi texted a photo of the recorded correction deed stamped with the county watermark, little fibers glowing like specks of stars when you tilt the page. "Frame-worthy," she wrote. I decided to put it in a drawer next to the tea, where important quiet things live. Sunday found me in the rocker with the snow globe on the railing like a small apprentice. I wrote new lines for the inside of my cabinet bills on Fridays. Not at night, if an email makes your hands shake, rock for 2 minutes, then answer with one noun, invite quiet before company. I read them aloud to the room. It agreed, which is to say, it didn't argue. I called Naomi to confirm Monday's compliance audit of the settlement payment 3 posted listing live refi application opened if sale lags, she hummed. The sound of a person who keeps a ruler in her pocket. All green so far, if they miss. We accelerate what needs accelerating. Otherwise, be a person with a porch. I ended the week by writing my nightly ledger on a fresh card and tucking it under the brass clip. Haint blue is superstition with benefits, even if ghosts ignore it. Moods don't. Compliance audits are just calendars in suits. Families can wear them. 2. Tomorrow library, lemons. And 1 brave phone call to schedule the civility talk. The porch light hummed. The refrigerator sang its steadfast B-flat. And somewhere across town, a sign in a yard waited for a buyer who likes roofs and routines. Here, a widow breathed with a house that doesn't require rescue. A calendar that keeps its own promises. And a family that is learning to slide notes instead of launching speeches. The snow globe was still. It didn't need shaking. Neither did I. Monday put on its best clipboard. I took my 2-minute civility talk to Dorsey Court index card in my pocket. Cookies in a tin that says, "We believe in second chances." Miss Reyes opened the lunch and learned with that calm that makes furniture sit up straight. I said my 2 minutes like I promised. Rules are kindness with addresses. Volume is expensive. If you can't be gentle, be brief. Malik demonstrated open hands. Elise passed the clipboard. Mr. Soto waved from the back like dignity doesn't need a spotlight to be seen. We ended without applause, just the sound of people deciding to spend fewer adjectives in hallways. Elder wisdom. If you want a different ending, end differently on purpose. Small rituals, timers, sign-in sheets. The word please turned chaos into something rooms can survive. On the porch that night, I played a slow game of chess with Lucas. He won with a bishop that had better posture than my queen. Mia strung the tiny stars a bit higher so they'd catch the wind. The rosemary made the kitchen smell like dinner is possible even on ordinary days. Kara texted a photo of cardboard towers labeled things instead of feelings. Books, shoes, games, listing live, she wrote. Open house Saturday. We cleaned the baseboards like they were witnesses. They were, I replied. Baseboards, remember. Academic phrase of the day. Escrow holdback, the public arrangement where a little money waits in a neutral pocket at closing. Released only after a thing gets done, like repairs. It's a pause button with teeth. Buyers sleep, sellers finish, promises keep receipts. Naomi called with the grown-up version, buyer interested. Inspection Wednesday. If the roof nags, we'll negotiate a holdback. Servicer remains paused. Compliance still green. She added, softer. You doing okay with the quiet I am? I said. Quiet's a co-worker with tenure. Sidebar, odd fact. Rosemary isn't just for memory in folklore. The plant actually releases cineol, a compound linked in a few studies to sharper recall and alertness. That means your grandmother's kitchen science has a peer-reviewed footnote. Mine smells like soup and boundaries. Light joke number 1. I told Naomi my rosemary has been promoted to middle management. Give it a nameplate, she said. The week folded itself neatly. Provisional credits became permanent. The ATM stills lived in a folder I never opened because math already testified. Miss Kemp's next email landed like a gavel with Manners Journal irregularities confirmed. Referral prepared. We understand you've reached a civil resolution, she wrote. Our file pursues the notary side. Sunlight does its job. I thanked her with fewer exclamation points than my heart wanted. Noah and I painted the last strip of Haint blue Friday evening. He balanced on the step stool, brush steady. Ava sent the kids to me with a list of chores they chose themselves, he said, half proud, half bewildered. She cooked and didn't narrate the onions. He climbed down, grinning like a man who's learning how to keep agreements the way you keep pets daily, gently, with water nearby. We're not fixed, he said. We're scheduled. Schedules are bridges, I said. Traffic happens, bridges hold. Saturday's open house smelled like optimism and citrus. I didn't go in. I sent a tray of cookies with a note to the realtor for people who choose roofs. I drove once around the block, tipped my snow globe in the passenger seat, and let the flurry settle without my commentary. Buyers came and left, offers would follow. I was content to let paper carry the verbs. Light joke number 2. Lucas tried to teach the rocker to trash talk my chest opening. The rocker refused. Boundaries. Kara asked to stop by Sunday. Porch only. She arrived with a manila envelope and a face that practiced ordinary. Payment 3 queued, she said, handing me the receipt like a passport at a border. Inspection Wednesday. If the roof wants attention, we'll escrow the work. She looked at the Haint blue, upward, like a person who wants to practice believing in better skies. I'm sorry, I said, freeloader. It tasted worse coming back. Thank you, I said. We'll keep the apology private and the math public. She nodded. That's fair. We sat in 2 chairs that forgave us for being human. She told me she's applying to a bookkeeping course. She said numbers don't lie. They just need adult supervision. I said cupboards like labels. She laughed once. Real. We agreed that holidays would be scheduled with weather in mind, kitchens for calm, porches for bridging, timers for generosity. The library sent a thank you card with hand-drawn confetti, pencils purchased, crayons content. I pinned it inside a cabinet door next to my house, manual water rosemary. Rock first, soup before speeches. The Boring Winds folder grew an avocado sticker family. Mia declared the union strong. The cottage learned me the step that creaks. The exact angle where the lamp makes the room kinder than it is. I planted a pot of mint for tea, because grace tastes better when it's been asked to grow. Light joke number 3. I labeled a jar emergency cinnamon and put it beside the timer, policy sweetener.
On the morning, the offer came in over asking. Naomi called before my kettle finished its one good song. Inspection clean. Small holdback for a cranky gutter. Closing in 30 days. Your share will clear what's due and finish the $150,000 in a tidy bow. I signed what she sent, printed what wanted paper, and put the important copy next to the T where sacred documents go.
That evening, I stood on the porch with the kids. Luca set up the chessboard. Mia threaded new starlights along the rail because she insists stars deserve friends. Noah downed tools and just sat. We let the day be unremarkable on purpose. Across the street, a kid practiced trumpet, apologizing to B-flat, then landing on it with relief. The sky took its haint and made it a verb calm. Elder wisdom final, poor peace rarely arrives as a parade. It shows up as routines that keep their promises, payments that post, chairs that forgive, rules that speak softly, and people who learn to be brief when they cannot be kind. Inside, I framed nothing. The correction deed lives in a drawer with a T. The settlement ledger is a checklist, not a shrine. The snow globe sits on the mantle, unshaken. Houses, after all, don't need drama to know if they have roofs. They just look up. I wrote 3 lines for the last card of this story and slid it under the brass clip. We ended differently, so the ending is different. Escrow is a pause with teeth, so are boundaries. The porch keeps watch. The kettle knows when to sing. The refrigerator hummed its faithful B-flat. The porch light practiced being a star with a job, somewhere. A notary's empty journal line continued to learn about consequences, and a buyer signed for a house that remembered how to be a noun, here. A woman placed 2 pens in a dish labeled for sliding only and decided not to need them tonight. The rocker approved, so did the quiet. We began under twinkling lights, and a sentence meant to wound stop being a freeloader instead of shouting back. Evelyn chose paper, posture, and quiet action. She left with a suitcase and a snow globe. She found motel coffee, a fraud affidavit, and a lawyer who speaks in nouns. The story moves by small, disciplined instruments. Regulation E for stolen cash, a recorder C, also ribbon tying a forged deed to a correction, a document examiner who can hear hesitation in ink, a notary investigator who asks journals to show their thumbs. Money track, house track, device track, each bag labeled, carried in 2 trips if needed. Leverage, not war. Turns a family crime into a private repair, return the ATM withdrawals. Restore title, sell or refinance correctly. Pay back what's owed. Keep the grandchildren out of adult weather. Compliance becomes a calendar day 1 payment. Day 30 closing. Cookies delivered to rooms that choose civility over theater. Rosemary in the window is both folklore and science. Haint blue on the porch ceiling is superstition with benefits. The yellow lights at turnstiles learn to blink less. A building remembers it's a noun. The son chooses rails and soup. The daughter learns to slide a note. Please lower your voice instead of throwing a scene. Odd facts and academic phrases become friendly tools, escrow holdbacks. Litigation holds. Quiet enjoyment, ways to make promises, keep receipts, through it all. The house is the moral rooms that forgive but do not forget. A drawer where the correction deed lives beside T instead of in a frame. A doormat that says nouns only when the final payment posts and the porch takes its soft blue. Our narrator writes a last card end differently. And the ending is different. She doesn't shake the snow globe. She just looks up and trusts the roof.